All right, so let me begin, if I may. This is, in fact, one of the concepts that's being inspired by our professor at INSEAD when we studied the Executive Masters in Change, Professor Cree, who taught us about emotional capital. And I'm going to address it from an individual perspective. Basically, the concept is this: emotional capital. We believe that when it's collective emotion, it motivates an organization to have collective action. So some even say that it's more important to have emotional capitals that's collective than to have stability of an individual's emotions. So what we believe is that for an organization with leaders, with managers, and with senior executives who have good emotional capital, it would drive us for innovation. It would drive us for precision in execution. And I believe this is extremely important because imagine in an organization, one department is walking forward, one department is walking backward. It will not work. So there has to be something that's quite collective. And I'd like to share three main points on this emotional capital from a leader perspective. The first I feel is very relevant to our days is what we call thoughtful passion. It's not just passion, like blind passion, I really love something, I want to do it, but it's thoughtful passion, meaning as a leader in the disruptive age, as a leader in the times of change, you have to be able to not only hold your passion and to center yourself, but also to have a very clear mind in thinking about what that passion should lead you to. Basically, it's both a driving by your heart and also driving by your head. So you have so many different options that you can develop your business in, as you will also hear from our research later on. But what is it that you would like to pursue? I think that's very important as a leader. You not only have passion for the long term, but you have a clear head as to which area you should be driving your organization to. And the second point, which I felt was very relevant to these days, is what we call aspirational discontent. When hearing the word discontent, you would think that is a negative word, but in fact it is not. Because discontent with aspiration would mean that this type of leader, type of senior managers, they're constantly on the look for area that have not been fully, the muscles have not been fully flexed. So they would be looking at area where they can improve, underperforming area or underdeveloping area. You would typically hear a leader with aspirational discontent talk about things like what is next, or how can we better ourselves, or what is the industry benchmark? Could we lift our benchmark? Could we lift our standards? So aspirational discontent is an other individual leadership emotional capital, which I find highly relevant. And the last one that I would like to address briefly is the notion of authenticity. And remember in last episode when I shared about the communications in times of change, and when we had a very popular speaker who had spoken to us on the notion of care, on the notion of authenticity. We had from Pan Pacific Hotel Group, and we had Mr. Cho, who had shared on authenticity as well. I feel that authenticity is the ground, the basis of a change leadership, meaning you're honest, you're open, you're also very comfortable having failure conversations, because it's inevitable during times of innovation and change that you will come across failure, or you would come across experiments that do not go according to plan. So if you are able to be authentic in your expression and in how you address your team, if you're able to be aspirational content, and if you're able to remain passionate with thoughtful passion, I think that would kind of sum up one of the ideal leaders that we would like to have.
So, in such a situation, the CEO actually didn't realize that there were underlying dynamics linked to emotional capability that prevented him from having an energized and powered team that moved the innovation process forward in an aligned manner to capture opportunities that were missing. What actually was happening was that the senior leaders and directors and some of them were old guards, were actually going through the motion of creating activity to show they were making change to the boss, but they did not feel they are the ones or their part or their department had to actually change significantly to deliver that outcome. At the same time, many of them didn't actually trust their cross-functional peers, so they withheld useful information or they did not share it wholeheartedly in a timely manner, which all of us know when we want to capture business opportunities through innovation. Timely information is critical. Now, what happened to the middle managers like marketing, sales managers, or the research managers? They actually were not speaking openly in the meetings. They spoke only outside the meetings about their opinions. Now, we noted that could be cultural, but we discussed the likelihood that there was collective emotion of fear of personal harm when expressing honest opinions and feelings. Because at some point, some of them were embarrassed or sanctions. Sometimes sanction could be just a cold stare that the boss gives you when you try to speak with an honest view. So after a while, they actually present information that's good news or something that projects a positive image. Even incomplete news would take place, right? So therefore, misalignment took place, a lack of ability to identify, see, or create the opportunities to build that energized and focused team. So once the CEOs and his team then realized that they were more aware that such dynamics called emotional capability and capital could exist on the unconscious surface, so that a safe and more honest environment for opinions could be built and hence right behaviors could happen. You start to see a whole ton of events, and obviously this is not overnight. It takes a long while, and more sharing takes place in a timely manner, accurate manner. Behaviors change, and the outcome was their creativity, their innovative ideas came out.
Hello, good evening, Laura and Mewai. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Debankur. I'm based out of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Excited to be a part of this interesting series of webinar. I'm here to present the second wave findings of our COVID impact and insights survey that we conducted. Can I have my slides, please? Okay, the title of our second wave presentation is What Happened, What Transient, and What's Here to Stay. Through this presentation and the research finding, we'll be trying to identify opportunities that can be leveraged upon in this rapidly changing business environment due to COVID situation, right? Next, please. Okay, as you can see that the study was conducted in 12 markets in Asia. Southeast Asia and East Asia were covered. In fact, Myanmar is a new addition to our geographical coverage, which was not a part of the wave one. The sample size is 1200 plus sample size, and we ensured the population representation in terms of age and gender. And as you can see that in terms of the generations, we have covered all the 4 generations, starting from Gen Z, which is 23-year-old or below, till baby boomers, which are 55 years above. And in terms of the data collection, it actually happened just 3 weeks back. So the data is very, very fresh and relevant. I hope the insights will be helpful and relevant to the audience as well. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, we all know that during this COVID pandemic, there's a lot of changes in consumer behavior, lots of talks about people's approach towards life in general, and also their change in priorities. Economic front-wise, also we saw that there are impacts in many businesses and industries. So in these challenging times, identifying opportunities and building new strategies will be critical for the business survival itself. In today's presentation, our effort is to see our research finding and see opportunities in 4 broad areas. First, we will start with 2 industries which are travel and hospitality and F&B. where we'll be talking about and analyzing opportunities in the short term, and hence we categorize that as what is transient. On the other hand, when we look at more permanent and long-term opportunities, we are looking at two other categories, which are around the concept of lifestyle changes and also impact of technology. Let's start with travel first. Okay, we have seen that the COVID has impacted the entire travel industry quite a lot, especially aviation, hospitality and tourism and so on. And we also saw a lot of businesses shutting down and people losing jobs, etc. And of course, travel restriction has to be imposed to control the COVID situation, and that didn't help at all because people had to cancel or postpone their trips. That impacted the category in general, right? But however, let's see whether there is any opportunity for this travel industry from our data. Let's see what the data says first. Okay, the first data that we are looking at is we collected this information to see what is the current public inclination towards this entire COVID situation. We asked people a question considering the current COVID situation in their respective countries. What is their preference? We kept more restrictions in one end, more restrictions to provide public safety and health in one side, and the other side we kept more freedom for social and business activities. As you can see from the slide itself, the preference is highly skewed towards more restrictions at this moment, because people believe that safety and health is a priority at this moment. Only 20% are inclined towards freedom for social and business activities. So as you can see, the data also suggests now that Asians will be cautious while traveling because health and safety is their priority at this moment, right? So in terms of when we asked about what are the preventive measures that they would expect, wearing masks, personal hygiene, physical distancing came up as the top three things. And of course, on top of that, vaccination came as one of the long-term solution for this COVID situation as well. Hence, we believe that strict SOP hygiene for maintaining physical distance will be very critical for running businesses in long term as well. So in a way, it's a responsibility of the businesses to give the people the assurance of safety. And it's not only applicable to, say, hospitality or travel industry, but it is also valid for other industries like retail, F&B, entertainment, and whole lot of other industries as well, right? Okay, in this particular slide, what we are looking at, we asked the question about what kind of activities have they had to postpone due to COVID situation. If you see the donut, 37% mentioned that they had to postpone their domestic staycation due to COVID situation. And when we asked these 37%, are they willing to go for the domestic staycation that they have postponed immediately after the COVID is under control? 82% saying that they would like to go for it. That definitely shows that there is a huge potential for domestic tourism in general. We also understand that international travel may take some time to come back into complete normalcy. So international tourism may not pick up very soon. So domestic travel is definitely on the cards. If we look at the top three markets that we are presenting in the slide here in terms of domestic tourism potential, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Japan emerged as the top three markets. If you see just for the Vietnam numbers, 63% are saying that they postponed their domestic staycation in Vietnam, and about 80% of them would like to go for it once the situation is under control. And similarly for Indonesia and Japan, the percentage of willingness is even higher. It's touching 90, and for Indonesia, in fact, beyond 90. Having said that, we also understand that Japan has realized this potential, and I think about 2 months back, they have introduced their campaign on Go for Travel initiative, by which they're subsidizing a lot of domestic tourists in terms of airfare, any kind of travel fare, and also hotel accommodation. I mean, Japan has already started, and many other countries have already started to some extent, but what we believe is that there is domestic tourism potential for other countries as well. That's why we see an opportunity in travel and hospitality in terms of the domestic tourism sector. As mentioned, first thing is maintaining good hygiene is just a norm. Everyone has to provide it. However, we believe that for this particular industry, specifically, the key will be to intercept consumers with message of reassurance in every touch point possible. When I say about touch points, I'm not talking about just the premise itself, like the hotel premise or the resort premise, but it has to go beyond that. Consistent messaging on SOPs, hygiene standards should be communicated through hotel websites, travel blogs, booking sites, travel websites, and so on. I mean, the ultimate objective is basically to make hygiene a talking point in general. There is a opportunity to probably make hygiene as a parameter for rating in different platforms, because at this moment I think cleanliness is one of the rating where you give 3-star, 2-star, 5 stars, but in that sense hygiene and cleanliness in today's context is slightly different, so maybe hygiene can also be a rating parameter. There's possibly an opportunity for the hospitality industry in general to come up with credible certification or a rating system on SOP compliances and also hygiene standards. Along with hygiene, I think another important aspect or the opportunity in hospitality industry is basically to market the destinations into different themes. And then according to the theme, they can also target specific target group to attract those domestic travelers. The themes can be oriented around, say, leisure, healthy living, adventure, and so on and so forth. We believe health tourism in general is expected to be very, very popular, because people are preferring living in natural environment, breathing clean air, detoxification, those kind of themes. So it can become very attractive. Again, talking about destinations, I think isolated destinations will be preferred over the crowded places, and hence that also gives us an opportunity to possibly develop the remote places for tourist spots or tourist attractions. And lastly, I think the communication and the campaign around to promote domestic tourism is also very, very important. In terms of messaging, I think creative messaging where we have a mass appeal and also kind of emotional connect can work better. The emotions can be nationalism, heritage, culture, or maybe simply saying knowing your country better, and those kind of themes can be also projected through their marketing activities. Okay, as far as the second the transient trend that we are looking at is more related to the F&B industry, where we're specifically talking about the significant increase that we have seen in terms of online food delivery. However, it's also important to see whether this rapid growth is sustainable in the future. That's number one. And secondly, if so, then what is the future model of F&B businesses? As you can see in this particular table, when we ask people how many percentage of them have increased the use of online food delivery, 48% mentioned that they have increased it. However, when we look at whether they will be continuing in the future, the percentage dropped to 34%. So there is an indication that there is potential drop in the online food delivery demand. It also suggests that people are possibly missing socialization, having good time with their friends and family and eating out and so on. So people are waiting for the chance to come. In terms of the opportunity, that suggests that the physical, next slide, please. Okay, that means if people are ready to come out of their houses to eat out, so that means the physical outlets are here to stay. but we believe that the business, as far as the business is concerned, there has to be a hybrid strategy as a way forward. When I say hybrid, it has to be dine-in, takeaway, click and pick kind of options, which are equally important here on, and strategies needs to be made around it. As far as the hygiene part is concerned, I think physical distancing is a key aspect in this particular industry specifically, because that's why seating arrangement or spacing out of the seating arrangement will be very, very important. And having said that, does it mean that we will require bigger spaces? Will that mean that it is higher rental and hence the food prices? Those are the things that we need to be the industry need to keep in mind, and hence we believe innovative floor plans, interior designing will become very, very crucial in a way forward to optimize the seating capacity and still without compromising the physical distancing part of it. And lastly, we believe the customer retention will be even more important in a short term. So innovative loyalty plans may be an opportunity for that, can become very popular among people. One piece of information in terms of the opportunity in food and beverages also, because our data also says that when we talk about postponement of things, the celebrations is one of the top things that people mention that they have postponed during the COVID. In fact, 43% of people across the 12 markets have mentioned that they have postponed celebrations due to COVID. And out of those 43%, 82% also mentioned that they would like to celebrate these occasions as soon as possible once the situation is under control. So potentially there is opportunity for introducing special celebration packages and to attract these kind of customers as well. Now talking about what's here to stay around lifestyle. In a way, this pandemic has many ways has given us a reality check. The importance of healthy lifestyle was realized and became #1 priority as per our first wave findings as well. Right. The data in wave 2 also shows some interesting trend around people's decision-making process and also preferences when it comes to food products among people. This particular table highlights that, just to set the context, during this pandemic, the increase in home cooking was pretty significant. With health being the top priority, selection of food products and ingredients also became very, very critical. Here is a table where we are showing the percentages of the factors considered when it comes to selection of the food products. We are specifically talking about fresh fruit and packaged fruits here. Besides quality and price, if you specifically look at fresh fruits and vegetables, being organic came out very, very strongly. In fact, 62% mentioning that being organic is one of the top factors in considering the purchase of fresh fruits and vegetables is significant. Along with the organic part, I think country of origin, and when we deep dive it in terms of what is the preferred country of origin, locally produced products are highly preferred. So we believe in the near future or in the long term as well, the locally produced organic products will have high demand in the market. Okay. In terms of, so that's why there are lots of opportunities in the organic and natural product category itself. I think the first and foremost, there has to be a push from the government and authorities in terms of supporting organic farming. With the public sentiment is going towards healthy eating, if there was a time to promote organic farming, it is definitely now. Just to give you a context of how big is the organic farming at this moment, only 2% of the global farmland is actually organic farmland at this moment. So there's a huge potential, because with the rise of demand, the supply has to also meet the needs, right? The first thing in terms of opportunity in the organic food product category is to analyze or ensuring reach of these organic products to the masses, because at this moment in the current situation, I think the distribution is very niche and are stocked at the premium retail outlets and not too much in the in a mass outlets, so to say. Maybe there's an opportunity to build some organic distribution hubs in different parts of the countries, so that the products can reach and the supply chain becomes shorter, and the quality is ensured and the freshness is ensured, and also on top of that there is a cost advantage that can be carried forward to the consumers. The other thing is around building branding in this particular segment, which is not a very strong point in general for fresh fruits and vegetables. In terms of the opportunities, there is opportunity for in-house label brands for the big retailers, not only in fruits and vegetables. If they would like to do some line extension in terms of organic products or organic ingredient products, they can also think about baby food, supplements, dairy products, because these are the few products where being organic or organic ingredients is very important. Another thing that is lacking in many of the Asian markets is the use of eponymous brands, where brand credibility is built around by putting the farmer's name into a particular brand name. I mean, the basic objective should be to build the brands with a strong and convincing story behind it. The story can be built upon heritage, experience, scientific way of farming, etc. Right, so these are some of the potentials in the organic food market sector. We talked briefly about country of origin being important for food products, but when we talked about country of origin, one product came as number one in terms of importance is vaccine. I mean, we know that there are lots of speculations around vaccines availability, when it will be coming out, and who will and where it will be from, and so on. And that's why as the country of origin is so high, it is high on importance, we try to establish the level of acceptance of the vaccine if it were to come from an Asian country. As you can see in the graph, Japan has the highest acceptance of vaccine, followed by Singapore and Korea. We believe that any kind of endorsement by Japan can help increase the credibility of the vaccine to a great extent. Maybe just the news of the acceptance of vaccine in Japan would also help. And the last topic for today's discussion, next slide please. The last topic for today's discussion is the impact of technology. Here specifically we'll be talking about two specific areas, which is online gaming and e-learning. And let's see the potential and opportunities in these two areas now. As you can see from the graph, we are looking at data from Gen Z and millennials. I mean, these are the two segments which are more suited to where we saw more potential in terms of online gaming. In terms of increase of online gaming during the COVID situation, 41% of Gen Z said that yes, it has increased in their cases. And when we asked about their continuation in the future, 80% said that it will remain either the same or they will increase in the future. So that shows that there is a huge potential of online gaming among Gen Z. But interesting part is that even millennials are adopting online gaming in a large way. And secondly, it is also interesting to notice that 2 out of 3 in both the age groups, they are being on online gaming itself. And the spending, if you can see, it's about $7 per month in case of Gen Z, and millennials about $15 per month. So once the millennials get into this online gaming business and having the spending power, it makes them a very, very lucrative segment as such. And in terms of the ranking of the countries where the online gaming has increased significantly, China, South Korea, Philippines, Hong Kong, and Indonesia are the top 5 countries for online gaming. If we see a similar kind of data for e-learning space, again, Gen Z is a key target group. which is pretty understandable. However, the increase in e-learning among Gen Z is significant. It's about almost 50%. And the willingness to continue post-COVID is also pretty high, it's about 60%. On top of the e-learning habits, we also asked which kind of topic they would like to pay for e-learning material. If you can see, it is interestingly the new skill development material, which are work related, came up as number 1 among Gen Z. And again, self-improvement, which are non-work related, came as number 2, and then followed by hobbies. Here, just talking about this new skill work related, one interesting fact that also came out from the study is that we thought that this Gen Z being the digital generation, so to say, will the acceptance of work home will be pretty high among them. But actually, we found that among Gen Z, they do not support work from home. And they also have the fact that productivity really suffers when they work from home. I mean, we need to understand that this Gen Z are the people who are like typically the first jobbers, and things like going to office, learning skills in the office environment, support system that exists in the office, mentoring by their seniors and so on, are all part of their skill development and learning in that sense. And hence, once they start working from home, these are the things that they really miss out on. Again, we saw that China, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Philippines, and Indonesia are the top 5 markets when it comes to adoption of e-learning platforms. Hence, we believe that there are lots of opportunities in these 2 areas as well. Specifically for gaming, just wanted to point out one more thing, that the increase in online gaming is very much similar for both males and females. So the relevant games and content needs to be made for both the genders. That's number 1. And secondly, in terms of the future scopes, there are lots of talks about cloud gaming, because that will actually eliminate the limitations in terms of the device storing space and so on. The other point, which is also has a very bright future, is application of virtual reality and augmented reality into the games. The other very anticipated technology is 5G, which is supposed to be 10 times, 20 times faster than the current 4G. That would also, in a way, open a lot of opportunities in terms of gaming and e-learning as well. AI in gaming personalization is also a big thing in the making, where the games customize itself, how they really play and what is their preferences and so on. The other we believe is underutilized at this moment and has a huge potential is the advertising and brand placement in games. Because once the millennials come on board for online gaming, I think the reach is also even expanding, and hence I think this will be a huge opportunity for all the gaming platforms. And last but not the least, once we merge the gaming concept into e-learning and gamified e-learning, I mean, that's another area that has a huge future potential, we believe. I mean, people like Cisco has already invested a lot on gamified e-learning, for instance, for their employees, and it's been very, very successful. Okay, these are some of the insights that we wanted to share from our second wave. Thank you very much from the entire Acorn family. We are the Asia's largest independent research and insight group. Thank you very much.
Well, so meanwhile, we are very, very fortunate today to have been hearing from Debankur and Acorn and update research. I know that is very recent, and audiences watching us today are so lucky like ourselves to be able to listen to that. So if we would briefly wrap up our learnings from the evening, that would be a good conclusion to the show. Would you like to begin first?
Yeah, but I think before that, we wanted to thank everybody for the questions. And
absolutely, we've got a lot of questions today.
This morning, we continue to answer the questions after the event, and even to sometimes have to do face to face. So don't worry, your questions will be answered. Okay, so just to give my wrap up. having gone through emotional capability and capital, and then Debunker's presentation, I thought what would be very important to talk about is that another key success factor in organizations to capture and implement new opportunities during challenging time is to actually ensure the cross-functional and external collaborations work very smoothly. Firstly, what we see that as organizations grow more sizable, what you see, and I'm sure you are familiar with, we have functions that become silos, right? So to be able to collaborate smoothly, they need to be able to consider how the individual or the group members' abilities are integrated and coordinated synergistically. Otherwise, no matter what opportunities you have, you're not going to be able to coordinate to implement that change. Secondly, to take a step back, um, enhanced collaboration, what's actually happening now is companies are actually restructuring in a way that makes them more agile and adaptable. Now, in simple terms, what that means is it should be moving towards less bureaucracy to speed up remote decision-making processes, in some case almost structure around like a startup to ensure that new business ideas can be incubated and move and launch very quickly. And obviously, as per my discussion just now on organizations, um, to achieve that collaboration, the leaders will need to create the safe, honest, psychological space for the teams to voice their views at timely moments before new opportunities or businesses can be brought to be launched. And this really helps in even the M&A processes where there are views that need to be raised about a decision that, say, a CEO wants to buy a company. If you don't raise it in a timely manner, it will be too late. So openness to share both good and bad news is critical in implementing change when we want to capture new business opportunities. How about you, Laura?
Thank you.
What are your key takeouts?
Well, I would share a short story which some of you may have heard before. You know how Christopher Columbus discovered the Indies, right? And after he discovered the new lands, his countrymen threw a feast for him. So at the party, some of them, raised this question and they said, "Well, Columbus, Spain is full of clever people, and I'm sure even without you, one of these days we would have discovered the new lands." So they were kind of like, teasing him. And he didn't answer the question directly. He just asked someone, "Can you give me an egg?" So they gave him an egg, and he said, "Well, now I dare you to be able to stand the egg on the table." So everyone tried around the feast table. Everyone tried, they couldn't do it. And when the egg came back to Columbus, he kind of beated it a little, crushed the shell at the bottom, and he allowed the egg to stand. So basically, and then he said, "Well, now that I've done it, you all know how to do it." So as a leader in innovation age, are you willing to crush the egg? Are you willing, daring, and courageous enough to look at challenge in the eye and address it head on with emotional capability?